The billionaire laughed the moment he saw the car. It was a faded blue sedan with peeling paint and a dented bumper, coughing smoke as it rolled slowly into the luxury country club parking lot. Guests arriving in Bentleys and Ferraris paused to stare as the old car rattled into a space near the entrance. He wore a simple shirt with the sleeves rolled up and helped his 6-year-old daughter Mia climb out of the passenger seat. She held a small birthday gift bag in her hands, swinging it carefully so the ribbon wouldn't fall off. "Dad," she whispered nervously, glancing at the expensive cars around them. "Are we allowed to park here?" Oliver smiled softly. Across the parking lot, billionaire tech mogul Victor Calder was stepping out of his brand-new Lamborghini when he noticed the scene. His friends followed his gaze, and a quiet chuckle spread through the group. "Look at that thing," Victor muttered, nodding toward the sedan. One of his business partners laughed. "I didn't know the valet allowed antiques." Victor smirked and walked a few steps closer, curiosity mixed with amusement. The car looked like it had survived 3 decades of bad roads and worse repairs. Rust edged the doorframe, and the side mirror was taped in place. Oliver noticed the group watching but ignored them. He closed the car door gently and adjusted Mia's jacket. Victor spoke loudly enough for the nearby guests to hear. "You know," he said, "this place actually has standards for the vehicles in the lot." Oliver turned slowly. "I'll move it if it's blocking something," he replied calmly. Victor shook his head with a mocking smile. "It's not blocking anything. It's just embarrassing." A few people nearby laughed awkwardly. Mia tightened her grip on Oliver's hand. Oliver stayed calm. "We're just here for the birthday party inside." Victor glanced at the sedan again, shaking his head in disbelief. "That car shouldn't even make it through the gate," he said. "How did security let you in?" Oliver didn't answer. Instead, he opened the back door and reached inside to grab Mia's small backpack. Victor stepped closer, still smiling like the moment amused him too much to let go. "You should probably upgrade," he said. "Even used cars aren't that expensive." Oliver finally met his eyes. "Like this one." Victor laughed again, then casually glanced down at the rear of the car. That's when he saw the license plate. The smile disappeared instantly. Because the plate wasn't ordinary. It was a custom plate issued only to a very small number of people in the country, people connected to a quiet government program that rarely appeared in public records. Victor's expression changed, slowly, carefully. He stepped closer to the car, staring at the plate again to make sure he wasn't imagining it. Oliver noticed the sudden silence. "What?" he asked calmly. Victor looked back at him, his confidence gone. "You own this car?" he asked. Oliver nodded. Victor's voice dropped slightly. "Where did you get that plate?" Oliver glanced at the numbers on the back of the car. Then he looked back at Victor. "I didn't get it," he said quietly. "They gave it to me." And suddenly the billionaire wasn't laughing anymore. Victor Calder stepped closer to the rear of the old sedan, studying the license plate again, like a man who had just discovered a hidden code. The numbers weren't random. He had seen them once before, briefly, during a private meeting years ago with federal defense contractors. Mia looked up at her father. "Dad, did we do something wrong?" Oliver gently squeezed her hand. "No, sweetheart." Victor straightened slowly, the mocking confidence from earlier completely gone. "That plate," he said carefully, "is registered through the Sentinel program." Oliver didn't respond. A few of Victor's friends shifted awkwardly, sensing the sudden change in tone but not understanding why. One of them chuckled nervously. "What's the big deal? It's just a license plate." Victor didn't laugh. "Not that one," he said quietly. He looked back at Oliver with a completely different expression, now half curiosity, half disbelief. "I thought everyone in that program drove armored vehicles," Victor added. Oliver shrugged lightly. "They offered." Victor glanced again at the rusted sedan. "You chose this? Still runs?" The answer only confused Victor more. People nearby had begun watching the conversation. A valet attendant paused mid-step, sensing the tension growing in the parking lot. Victor stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Those plates are assigned to individuals who've done something significant for national security," he said. Oliver's expression stayed calm. "That's what they told me." Victor folded his arms slowly. "You don't seem like someone who enjoys attention." "I don't." "So why keep the plate?" Victor asked. Oliver looked down at Mia for a moment before answering. "So I'd never forget why they gave it to me." The statement hung in the air. Victor studied him carefully now, as if trying to piece together a puzzle that suddenly mattered much more than an old car. "What did you do?" he asked. Oliver hesitated. Then he gave the simplest answer possible. "I stopped something bad from happening." Victor raised an eyebrow. "That's a very vague description." Oliver nodded. "That's how they prefer it." Silence stretched between them. Victor looked back at the sedan one more time, noticing details he had ignored earlier, the reinforced tire frames. The subtle modifications hidden beneath the body, the kind that only someone trained would notice. This wasn't just an old car, it was disguised. Victor exhaled slowly. "Let me guess," he said quietly. "You're the reason the Sentinel breach in Denver never made the news." Oliver didn't confirm it. But he didn't deny it either. Mia tugged lightly on Oliver's sleeve. "Dad, we're going to be late for the party." Oliver smiled gently. "You're right." He opened the car door again, grabbing the birthday gift from the back seat. Victor stepped aside automatically. As Oliver walked toward the building with Mia, Victor's friend finally spoke. "Why did you suddenly stop making fun of that car?" he asked. Victor kept staring at the license plate, because if he was right, that quiet single father walking into the club had once prevented a national disaster, and the car everyone laughed at was probably the safest vehicle in the entire parking lot. Victor Calder stood in the parking lot a moment longer, staring at the fading blue sedan like it had just rewritten the entire story in his head. His friends looked at him with confusion, noticing the sudden seriousness in his expression that had completely replaced his earlier amusement. One of them finally broke the silence, shaking his head in disbelief. "You're kidding, right?" he said. "You think that guy's some kind of secret agent?" Victor didn't answer immediately. His eyes stayed locked on the old car, as if something about it had triggered a realization he hadn't expected. Instead of responding, Victor slowly walked around the car, studying it more carefully. Up close, the rust and dents were still there, the faded paint and worn-out look making it seem like nothing more than an old vehicle that barely survived the last decade. But the longer he examined it, the more subtle details began to stand out. Reinforced door seams that didn't belong on a normal sedan, special tire treads designed for more than city driving. Then he noticed something even stranger, tiny camera lens tucked discreetly near the rear frame. "Not an agent," Victor muttered quietly. One of his friends crossed his arms and frowned. "What then?" he asked. Victor exhaled slowly, his mind piecing together clues that suddenly made the situation far more interesting than a simple parking lot joke. "Someone the government trusts more than people like us," he replied. The group fell silent for a moment. What had started as laughter over a cheap car had now turned into something entirely different. Inside the country club, Oliver had already forgotten about the conversation outside. His attention was on Mia as they stepped into the decorated party room filled with balloons, colorful banners, and the sweet smell of birthday cake. Children ran around laughing while parents gathered near the tables, chatting and watching the celebration. Oliver gently helped Mia adjust the ribbon on the small gift bag she was carrying, making sure it stayed tied properly. To everyone else in the room, Oliver looked exactly like what he appeared to be, a quiet single dad, doing his best to make his daughter happy. He blended into the background like any other parent attending a child's birthday party. But outside, Victor couldn't stop thinking about that license plate. Something about it had triggered a memory from years ago, a story he had once heard in a private conversation with people who dealt with national security. 10 minutes later, Victor walked into the party room. The chatter softened slightly as people noticed the billionaire tech founder entering the event. His presence always carried a certain weight in places like this. Victor scanned the room carefully until his eyes landed on Oliver sitting beside Mia at a small table. Oliver was helping his daughter unwrap a cupcake, smiling softly as frosting smeared across her fingers. Victor approached slowly. Oliver looked up the moment he sensed someone standing near the table. "You followed us?" Oliver asked calmly, his tone relaxed but observant. Victor gave a small shrug. "Curiosity," he said. Oliver nodded toward the empty chair across from him. "Go ahead," Victor sat down, taking a moment to watch Mia happily eating frosting before finally speaking. "You really stopped something in Denver?" Victor asked quietly. Oliver glanced around the room for a moment before answering. "People got home safely that night," he said. Victor frowned slightly. It's not exactly an answer. Oliver simply gave a small shrug. It's enough of one. Victor leaned back in his chair, studying the man in front of him with growing curiosity. You could have used that story, Victor said. Interviews, book deals, security consulting. You'd be rich. Oliver shook his head gently. I already am. Victor raised an eyebrow. Oliver nodded toward Mia, who was now laughing with another child near the cake table. That's my investment. Victor followed his gaze and watched the little girl laugh. For the first time since meeting Oliver, Billionaire smiled, not a mocking smile this time, but something closer to respect. You know, Victor said, most people spend their lives trying to look important. Oliver chuckled softly. And most important people spend their lives trying not to look like it. Victor glanced out the window toward the parking lot where the old sedan sat among luxury cars. I guess that explains the car. Oliver shrugged. It works. Victor stood and adjusted his jacket before heading toward the exit. Next time I see a beat-up car in a luxury parking lot, he said, I'll think twice before laughing. Oliver smiled quietly. Because sometimes the most powerful person in the room is the one nobody notices.